Those of you that have ever tapped into my content know that my favorite week of the year, well, it's here. It's Jets Week, a rivalry that goes back to the Dolphins' inaugural 1966 season. The Finns and Jets will renew things for the 116th time this Sunday. The head-to-head matchup was in the Jets' favor for a long time there, but the Dolphins have stormed back this decade to take the all-time lead 60-56 with one tie game in there, as Miami has won 7 of the last 8 meetings and 11 of the last 13. Last year, the Dolphins found success in 2 key areas offensively. Number 1, running the football, and number 2, the shot plays in the passing game. The Dolphins combined for 244 yards on the ground in the 2023 sweep of the New York Jets. Complementing that ground game was a 60-yard touchdown pass from Tua to Waddle in the game down here later in the season, and a pair of third down conversions to Reek and Waddle in that Black Friday game at MetLife Stadium, going for 32 and 35 yards respectively over Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed. Those same areas have been Jets' Achilles heels on defense this season, as they rank 20th in both rushing yards per game allowed at 127 and explosive passing plays allowed at 34. For Tua and the Dolphins offense, who have been able to sustain drives at one of the best rates in the entire NFL, it'll be an interesting dichotomy to see if they can have success with that approach or if they'll need the deep ball to find the winner's circle come Sunday. The Jets offense has plenty of firepower of its own, and while the results haven't been there for them this season, they've struggled out to a 3-9 start this year, there is a sleeping giant element that exists in this game. Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams are 2 of the best players ever to suit up in the National Football League, and Garrett Wilson, they've all had success in the NFL. And with the Dolphins not having Kendall Fuller last week, it looks like he could come back this week for the game on Sunday, as well as losing Kader Kohou in the game against the Packers. It bears watching how those matchups play out regarding the Jets' skill positions and the Dolphins' cornerbacks in the passing game. Now, the Jets are playing out the string in what's been a very disappointing season that began with championship aspirations, lots of people picking them to go to the Super Bowl. And the Dolphins had higher goals and a 5-7 start of their own, but a winning streak to close the year could keep the dream alive for Miami, but it starts with this very pivotal home game against arguably their biggest rival in the New York Jets. Welcome back into the Baptist Health Studios as we get ready for another Dolphins game with the New York Jets in town. Time to go across enemy lines here and welcome in Jets reporter Caroline Hendershot. How far along has Rodgers and Adams in the Jets chapter of their storied careers together come along? Because as much as they have that, built-in synchronicity, I kind of feel like as you get there for the trade deadline, mid-season, it's probably tough to pick that up right away. How have you noticed those guys' connection together? And then I guess the follow-up to that would be, how does Garrett Wilson factor into, the receiving pecking order with Davante Adams arriving there in October?
I think you said it best. Like, people almost immediately assumed, it's like riding a bike. They're going to pick up right where they left off in Green Bay. But of course, it takes a little bit of time with anything to just get back to that level. But I really feel like people saw it against the Seahawks. They had a couple first downs that were made possible because of that connection and that chemistry. Like, Rodgers would just find Davante and it would just click, and he would catch the ball when he needed to. And there were some really pivotal first downs that were made because of that connection. I think the beauty of it is that Garrett Wilson, the way that now you have to view it as a defender is, okay, we can't double team both of them. So you kind of have to pick your poison when you have both of them on the field at the same time. And that makes it even much more dangerous, because obviously Garrett Wilson has made insane catches in his career, not just this year, but then you're kind of only leaving him against one defender, and that just creates a whole nother slew of problems. So I do think that it's only beneficial. I know people originally were trying to kind of create a story that he's going to take away from all the other wide receivers on the team. But I don't think that has been the case at all. I think it's only enhanced the receivers.
Can you preview this Reek and Waddle versus Sauce and Reed and Michael Carter matchup? Because I'm curious. I know that for Tyreek and Waddle, they look forward to the challenge, every year against these guys. It's got to be the same way for the Jets cornerbacks against the Dolphins receivers.
Yeah, 100%. I think these cornerbacks pride themselves on their level of play, their physicality, and just what they are capable of doing as a trio. And of course, I think the nickel cornerback always gets maybe a little overlooked. Michael Carter is just he blows my mind. I think he is so smart. He's so good at the position, and it's very underrated in my opinion. But yeah, Sauce and DJ, that combination, I feel like has been really aggressive this year. They, I think, will be the first ones too to tell you, like, there's been some plays where maybe the communication wasn't up to their standard, or things got away from them, or there have been some penalties, but that doesn't mean that they're not holding themselves to the highest standard continuously and excited for that challenge. I know that it almost feels weird that the Jets and the Dolphins haven't faced each other yet already, and it's already week 14. Like, I feel like usually it's comes earlier in the season, so I feel like this has been long awaited for both the DBs and probably the Dolphins wide receivers as well. But yeah, I will say, obviously the quarterbacks are the big discussion, but someone who has come onto the scene for the Jets who has been making quite a name for himself, safety Jalen Mills, he was part of a goal line stop last week against the Seahawks that was really, really important. And so he, too, has been playing at a really high level, too. So that's been interesting as well.
How do you think the Jets can come away with a victory on Sunday over the Dolphins, Caroline?
So I think for them, it really just comes down to limiting those self-inflicted wounds and those self-inflicted mistakes. Like the penalties, I think if they can limit those, that will be a big aid for them. But then also, I really think the special teams plays a really large role. I know that obviously the Seahawks Jets game was an anomaly maybe with all of the special teams action that happened. But I do think that because they highlighted the special teams unit as something they wanted to get going, and then Kene Nwanwu came in and really has just electrified the kick return, I think that has played a big role. So I think that while people might overlook that aspect of the game, I think that could be a big factor in Sunday's matchup between the Dolphins and the Jets.
Looking forward to it. 1 o'clock here from Hard Rock Stadium. Dolphins and Jets. It's 116 times in the making here, this rivalry. So looking forward to the renewal of that for the first time in 2024. Caroline Hendershot, Jets reporter at CG Hendy on Twitter. And Caroline, I know you've been down here a few times in the past, but just a reminder for you, the press box gets very cold at Hard Rock Stadium. Please dress accordingly.
Oh, I am thriving and so excited for the 77-degree weather after the weather we've been having in the Northeast. So don't you worry. I will probably be wearing a tank top and very happy about it.
Caroline, thank you for your time today. We appreciate it so much, and we will see you on Sunday. We're back here in the film room today on Dolphins HQ to break down a couple of aspects of the Dolphins offense. Number one, De'Von Achane's red zone scoring ability and the Dolphins' overall red zone success with the return of quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. The Dolphins rank 5th in the NFL in red zone touchdowns at 70% since Tua came back into the lineup. And one way they're doing that is with passes to the running back De'Von Achane, who has 6 touchdown catches down in scoring territory this season. We go to this play against the Patriots back in week number 12, I believe this was. And you're going to watch the motion here of the Patriots. And that's the first thing that we're going to keep an eye on here is this defender right here wants to bump coverage. You see he's alerting these defenders to slide out with the motion of De'Von Achane right here. And they don't get it communicated right away. And so this quick snap here from Tua Tagovailoa, take a look at this player, and he wants to be within leverage of Achane on the quick swing pass here, this now screen right away to Achane, but he's already outside, or outflanked, I should say, because he's at the hash marks and Achane's on the numbers. And the Dolphins, because of this ill-communicated play pre-snap for the Patriots, are going to get great leverage across the offensive line play with student body left coming out here to hit these down blocks on out-leveraged defenders. And so once they get this look, the Patriots overrun this play because the Dolphins have run the swing route and kept it up the perimeter in the past. But this time, they're going to cut it back against the grain and get all these key blocks and some big-time blocks here from Aaron Brewer. Go ahead and watch him. Get a piece right there, knock him on the ground. Here comes Liam Eichenberg, big collision point at the goal line, and a bunch of blocks that sealed this easy touchdown for De'Von Achane against the Patriots. Now, we saw the way that motion impacted this play from the sideline copy right there. Let's go ahead and take a look at the second touchdown pass from Tua to De'Von Achane once again. Another backfield motion that creates some confusion for the Patriots in their communication. Go ahead and take a look at Tyreek Hill. He's going to slide down into the backfield from his split to the field right here, the 3 receiver to the field. He's going to come down to the backfield and ride shotgun sidecar alongside Tua, along with Achane. And look at the Patriots defense. They're still moving about the formation here before the snap. They're still communicating, hey, who do you got there? Who's going to man up on Tyreek? And what I want you to watch is the way Tyreek commands attention right here. This outside defender is going to reroute Jonnu Smith and then get eyes on Tyreek on this fake give inside. And this defender also has eyes on Tyreek as he takes this fake give. Maybe he's going to run a little swing route, maybe a little spot route. Options are plenty there, and it gets the Patriots defensive attention, especially Kyle Duggar right here, who takes one false step inside, and he winds up actually needing to cover the running back De'Von Achane from this position. But because of this one false step, if you get outflanked like this by De'Von Achane, you're going to get a walk-in touchdown, and that's exactly what happened because you have man coverage on the other side of the field here, double slants to the field side. That's going to take these Patriots man defenders and chase them out of that side of the field and creates this green grass. I mean, for Aaron Brewer to have this space with De'Von Achane, not needed, but if he needs a block, he's there for the big play, and it springs a walk-in touchdown. So for the Dolphins, they're finding ways to score down in the red zone through basic passing concepts, through from communication confusion for the defense, and just putting together a great game plan to get red zone touchdowns when they need it the most. 70% touchdowns since Tua came back from IR. The Dolphins are rolling in the red zone so far. All focus this week is on the Jets, as it should be for us and the team as well. But for the fans that cannot help but look down the road, that hopefully looking at a wild card berth for the Miami Dolphins, let's go ahead and take a look at how this could play out for the back half of the season, doing some forecasting here and using some numbers to back this up. So 10-7 for the Dolphins means a 5-0 finish would be a near lock for the postseason. According to ESPN's Football Power Index, at 10-7, the Dolphins' playoff odds are 99%. But if they finish 4-1, those odds are still in their favor, although they drop down to 52%. Now, where that loss comes from could alter that percentage. For posterity, if the loss is to the 49ers, that is a less impactful game to lose than it is if you lose to the AFC, because conference record is a huge tie-breaking scenario. So as it stands right now, provided the Dolphins get the wins they need and the help that they need, they're likely going to have the tiebreaker on every team they're competing with for one of those final spots, except for the Colts, who of course hold the head-to-head tiebreaker from that win over Miami back in October. And that's the first of many tie-breaking procedures, with conference record being second for teams outside of your division. But the Jets and Patriots are not in the equation, so we don't have to worry about that right now. Let's go ahead and do this. At 10-7, here is what the Dolphins need to play football beyond the regular season. There are a handful of options for the Dolphins to climb back into the AFC 7th spot or higher. We won't go through it all because it's 6 teams, but the best route is the Colts losing one more game and the Broncos losing 2 more games. There are routes with the Ravens, Chargers, and Steelers, even the Texans, but that's a long shot for the Dolphins. So keeping that aside, I think those are your best choices. The Colts and Broncos really at the top of that list. 1 loss for the Colts, 2 for the Broncos. Now, if the Dolphins lose a game down the stretch, they're going to need a lot of help to find their way in. Essentially, you add 1 more loss to the teams that have to lose games down the stretch. In fact, why don't we go ahead and pull up the AFC standings right here and take a look at how things are going. I have it in front of me. You have it on the screen for yourself right now. So the Chiefs and Bills pretty much locked into those top 2 spots. They're going to compete for home field advantage. The Steelers are currently leading the AFC North with the Chargers in there as well. And the Texans kind of have a stranglehold on the AFC South over the Colts, who are trying to catch up to them in the last month of the season. So that creates this position with the Broncos, with the Ravens, with the Colts, and the Bengals, by virtue of their loss to the Steelers, kind of knocked themselves out of contention. I guess they could run the table, but they would need all kinds of help, and you can see by their 2-6 conference record, they probably are not going to be back into the equation. So for the Dolphins, keeping an eye on the Broncos and Colts, who, for the Colts, they have a run of games here after their bye week. In fact, both the Broncos and Colts have byes this week, where after the bye week, they're going to play each other, and that the loser of that game essentially is going to be on notice for trying to win the rest of their games. And for the Broncos, they have games against the Bengals and the Chiefs and the Chargers still to go. So a lot of tough games for that team that has a young quarterback who's playing really good football right now, but you never know how the year can end down the stretch. And then for the Colts, I mean, they've been up and down all year long. It looks like Anthony Richardson's kind of settling into his own in terms of being more productive with that offense scoring more points. And they had that great 85-yard game-winning drive over the Patriots on Sunday to get that huge win for them. But they're going to have games against the Giants, the Jags, the Titans, and the aforementioned Broncos. So trying to find a loss on that part of the schedule might seem difficult, but down the stretch in late in season games, you kind of throw the records out because those games can get out of control, especially in division with those Jags and Titans games. And then you kind of have the teams in the AFC that feel a little bit more secure in their footing with regards to their division standing, like the Ravens. You know, they lost that game to the Eagles on Sunday, but I would never bet against Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry to make a final push into the postseason. And then I just think the Texans Texans are going to hold on the AFC South, and the Chargers, who continue to just find ways to win football games. I mean, that game against the Falcons on Sunday, they had 4 interceptions of Kirk Cousins. 1 went back for a touchdown, 1 in the end zone, 2 more in the red zone, and a Falcons missed field goal. So they seem to have a little bit of luck on their side in addition to playing some good football. So for the Dolphins, just trying to win out the rest of the way. They're going to have to win the final 5 games to get to 10 wins, most likely. It basically comes down to this. Win your 5 games, go 10-7, you're probably going to be in. At 9-8, it's probably more like a coin flip for the Dolphins to find their way back into the postseason for a 3rd consecutive year. Week 14 in the NFL will see the Dolphins repping some colorful and meaningful footwear as part of the league's annual My Cause, My Cleats initiative that allows players and coaches to express their commitment to causes that are most important to them. Players also have the opportunity to auction off their cleats with 100% of the proceeds going to their selected organizations. And the causes are nearly endless too. Here in Miami, numerous players chose to represent the Dolphins Cancer Challenge, which celebrates its 15th anniversary on February 22nd in 2025. Jalen Waddle and Teron Armstead have chosen to focus on financial literacy and young people through partnerships with Truist Bank, the Boys and Girls Club, and the Team Armstead Foundation, respectively. For a look at more of these cleats you'll see on the field this weekend, check out the Miami Dolphins across social on Instagram, X, and TikTok. That wraps up this edition of Dolphins HQ from the Baptist Health Studios. You know the drill. Be sure to check out the Drive Time podcast with yours truly 5 days a week and the Fish Tank podcast. Subscribe to the Dolphins YouTube channel for new episodes of Mic'd Up, Game Speed recaps, Coach McDaniel breakdowns, media availabilities, and much, much more from all your favorite Miami Dolphins. Enjoy an exciting Week 14 in the NFL, and we'll see you right back here. Hoo!